What a joke
How
this
about
is. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us live in studio is a man who's the reason why I got drafted to the Indianapolis Colts. I'm thankful for that. I'm lucky for that. He is now the general manager of the Los Angeles Chargers. Ladies and gentlemen, Telesco.
Yeah!
Welcome to the Thunderdome. I don't think your microphone was on just yet, but we are very thankful that you are here. How about it, bro? Huh?
It's unbelievable. I was just saying this, for me, I mean, I lived here, so I kind of know the area well. I have not been out this far before. Thought we were halfway to Fort Wayne on the drive out here.
I mean, we appreciate you making the trip up here. We had to get out of the city mostly because we all live here now. And we're old. And when we were downtown, we went through downtown went through some stuff. After COVID,
It's not the same.
went through some stuff. It's coming back, though. It's coming. Hey,
it's
coming back.
Roads are getting worse, but it's coming back.
And whenever you see a space like this that's available that you can flip into something like this, you got to do it. You can
Yeah, it's
understand.
just really cool.
Hey,
It's
thank
great.
you, man. Not as cool as being a general manager. How's life? Combine week's a big week for you, right?
Yeah, it's a busy week. Just a lot of meetings, a lot of things going on, a lot of multitasking between the draft, free agency, our own players. So just trying to get everything done as efficiently as possible this week, which is hard here. There's a lot of stuff going on, but yeah, it's a good week of football.
So we're certainly not supposed to tell you that they told us that you were in a meeting with Goodell before you got here.
What?
What happens in that meeting? What are the meetings that take place around the NFL?
First of all, there was like 100 other people in this meeting. So
Whoa.
Yeah,
So
but-
what? So
okay.
they didn't tell us it was Goodell. They said a very important meeting with somebody very important. So we just got it. No. What are some of the meetings that take place? Are you guys talking about rules and like next year or anything like? Does anything substantial take place here?
Yeah, so there's some discussions about just some rule changes. We had talked about like the quarterback sneak rule. Talked about that. Talked about roughing the passer.
Peter King
the
is
tush
not
push.
happy
Yeah.
about the tush push.
So a lot of discussions will start here. The competition committee will start that. Just get the discussions going, get different viewpoints, different opinions, and then as you get into March, they'll start to kind of fine tune that. Will it go to a vote? Will it not? That's just two of the things we talked about today.
What is your stance on the tush push?
You know, I mean, to me, it's been a part of the game. The quarterback sneak's been part of the game. Now, before we couldn't, I don't know, 10 years ago, you couldn't push the quarterback.
Yeah, because
As part of the
Reggie,
rule
right?
anyway.
The whole
Leinart against
that was
Notre
a big
Dame.
conversation
Yep.
on whether or not
Now
it's
you
legal.
can't
I don't mind the way it is now. What I do worry about from an offensive line perspective is, you're in a tight stance, you're down, your head's down, you're firing off the ball. So, and I understand that will happen in goal line plays, but if we have this 5, 6, 7 times a game, I have a little bit of question there. But as far as the actual play, look, it's part of football. It's a high percentage play for the offense. So I guess we'll kind of see where it goes.
Yeah, and remember the field goal rules changed because they didn't want 600 pounds of people pushing.
Exactly.
Right? It was 2 D tackles were lined up right over the shoulders of the long snapper, and then you had 2 linebackers right behind, and sometimes 2 linebackers on one guy. So you had a 330-pound tackle lined up on the shoulder pad or the head of the long snapper, then 2 linebackers pushing. So you have like 250, 253, like 800 pounds being pushed through there, and they deemed it unsafe for obvious reasons. This is kind of the same argument, right? Isn't it kind of the same?
Also, how football works is as teams start to do that more, there's strategy off that. Now you can run some, some sweeps, some fly sweeps, some misdirection off that. It may look like 1940s football at some point. That's sweet. In the short yardage, which is actually, if you watch it, it's pretty interesting as far as how they hide the ball and misdirection. But I guess we'll kind of see where it comes out as we get into March.
Do you have actual say? General managers have actual vote, or is it held by somebody? Like the competition committee have all the say, and who are they?
We just give our thoughts and opinions. Down the road, there'll be a vote of all the teams in March if it goes to vote. At the owners' meeting.
It's so fascinating because the rules are changing, right? I mean, there has been some substantial changes in the game as of like the last 5-10 years. Are we going to see more of that, you think, or no?
It's a little different each year. I think a lot of the changes have been more for health and safety, and I think we've gotten a lot better there. I think
concur.
that's really been most of the rule changes lately, but it kind of varies year to year.
Oh, the sling and slam thing, I heard.
Yeah.
You guys talking about that or no?
Yeah, we watched some of those today. I mean, a lot of them did not look that bad to me.
Yeah, to us either.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't even know that was a thing, to be honest. I didn't even know until today that was a thing, the sling and the slam.
Well, it happened against Tom Brady, the Falcons. That was the big one. Jarrett comes through. I assume you watched that
Yes,
one.
we did, yeah.
Yeah, that was the one you watched. That was when it became a big conversation because that was fourth quarter.
Won
I
him
think.
the game.
Yeah, game-winning
Early
drive, the
on,
whole thing.
yeah.
So that became the talking point, I think.
Yeah, I think if it's in one motion, it should not be a foul, and I don't think it will be.
And I don't think quarterbacks want it. Now, in the moment, Tom definitely wanted it because it gives
yeah.
them first down. And there was a time where Taylor Heineke celebrated a hit or things like that. But if you talk to them afterwards, like Aaron has been very open about, like, I don't want these calls. And Tom has even said, I don't want these calls either. Trying to make the right thing to keep people safe, keep the integrity of the game, while also keeping people off the ass of the NFL. Let's move on away from all the future of the NFL. Let's talk about the current of the NFL and your team. I told you, like, as soon as you walked in here, I said, I'm going to have to ask. I was watching a horror film for you in that playoff game. Obviously, making to the playoffs is awesome for this Chargers team. It's great. Herbert's first taste of NFL football. A lot of success, a lot of great football by you guys for 2 quarters. Then, obviously, the Jacksonville Jaguars do what they got to do. As you're watching that game, are you just melting down in the press box, or how's that whole thing unfold for you?
We can talk about the first half if you want.
Yeah. Great football.
Yeah.
Hey, biggest stage, showed up. Hey, played great.
First
Played great.
playoff game.
Guys got moxie.
progression.
They can work it, yeah.
You know, just based on how we played in the first half, even in the second half wasn't going our way through the third quarter. I still had in my mind, like, we just got to make one play on offense or defense on a third down, and we're going to be fine. You know, the end score may not look pretty. It may be a lot closer than it should, but that will still be fine. And I felt like that way all the way to the final drive. So I wasn't in that panic mode of what's happening. I was like, hey, we just got to make one more play. It's a playoff game. We're playing a really good team. This happens. But on offense, you know, we couldn't convert third down. And then on defense, we couldn't get a third down stop the whole second half. So
Yeah, you got to get off the field. I mean, it's just basic football.
Yeah, and usually when you have a lead like that, the only way you'll lose is if you have turnovers. We had no turnovers in the second half, but, you know, we didn't extend any drives on offense, didn't run the ball real well when we had to run it. And then defensively, we just couldn't get a stop. And that's kind of how it went.
So I know you have a ping pong table in your office, and amongst other things, you enjoy living your life while doing, you know, your general manager position. Do you take positives away that you guys took the next step? Like when you're playing ping pong, are you like, we did make the playoffs. We were up, what, 27, 28?
27-0.
27 or whatever. Like, is that how you view that? Or is it just like so demoralizing the way it ended and you can't really think about the positivity?
At least in my job, you have to flip past the demoralizing into, okay, how do we get ready for next year? And it can't be just looking at one game and say, all right, this is what happened in this game, how do we fix it? You have to look at the whole season. Now, typically, you know, in the playoffs, whatever your weaknesses are, they get magnified in the playoffs. We saw that. Like, there were points of the game where we had to run the ball when they knew we were going to run the ball, and we just didn't get that done. Our third down defense, you know, third and long defense through the course of the year wasn't probably where it needed to be. Shows up in the playoff game. So those are things we'll look at.
That's something you see that we don't see.
But try not to look at, hey, look, this is how we played in the second half of one game, and that's how we're going to try and, you know, kind of fix this moving forward. So, but yeah, the demoralizing part, that's the plane ride home next couple of days, and you got to flip and get ready.
What'd you see from your head coach this year that you didn't see maybe in his first year head coaching?
I think with anything else, because I know when I was a first-time GM and then the second year, like the second year, you know what's coming. You can anticipate what's going on. Like my first year, I'm moving on the fly. He has great time management skills because you're talking about a head coach that also
he
calls the
did
defense.
change.
Oh, yeah.
He changes. You know, like first year, the only conversation was, oh, Brandon Staley, this guy's fucking up fourth down again because it didn't work, or it did work. And it was like, Brandon Staley, stats guy's going crazy. Feels like he took that all in and adjusted a little bit. I enjoyed watching that from Coach Staley.
Yeah, I mean, he takes in the information that he has, you know, on a really play-by-play basis and makes decisions off that. That's all what those analytics are, is just trying to help us make really good, solid decisions. You're talking about a head coach, you know, in really all sports, but you're making split-second decisions. You're on the field in real time. So having that data helps you make those decisions. But just seeing him maneuver through this season, you know, we had our ups, we had our downs, which almost every team does. But we had a tough stretch in the middle of the season. We pulled out of it, and we won 4 or 5 straight at the end of the year to get in the playoffs. And you know, just didn't quite take it far enough after that.
Well, it had two great quarters.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
In the playoffs.
Best team in the league almost.
Took pride in that, I assume, that your boys showed up in the big stage there in the first half. Whenever they show up, like, okay, the stage wasn't too big for our quarterback. The stage wasn't too big for our coach. Like, we came out and did our thing. I think that is certainly a silver lining of that whole thing.
I think so. You know, coming off week 18 to go into the first week of the playoffs, we're on the road, cross country, Saturday game. Our guys are ready to play. Coaching staff had those guys ready. We played really strong. But you know,
the Colts gave up a 33-0 lead at halftime.
So it wasn't
So
as
you
bad as
can
that.
you can kind of put that on the wall if you like to. A place you used to work has the worst in the
Yeah,
history
it was bad.
of the game. This season was wild. Did you get a feeling about that or no? Like it was tough to predict what was going to take place every single week. Some teams were like incredibly hot, then they got ice cold. Like you guys said, you had a middle stretch there where you kind of got local. Why is that? Do you think this year was different football than any other year? Or
I
no?
don't think so. I mean, you know, Philly kind of ran, you know, from beginning to end, but everybody else usually has their different, you know, ups and downs. Like even the year the Rams won the Super Bowl, they had beginning of the year, they didn't start real strong, and then they finished strong and then played well in the playoffs.
Just like the Bucks the year before.
Just like the Bucks, yeah. So I think that's just kind of normal, and that's what makes our league so great. Is you don't just have a couple teams that are out in front of everybody else, and you know everyone has their ups and downs, but that makes it competitive.
Tone has a question for you.
How do you feel about when
Or how do GMs feel? How do owners feel if like one team just go out and gives a guy a fully guaranteed quarterback contract of like the most money of all time?
And you have a quarterback that is on a
needs-
rookie contract who is certainly going to
Gonna
be
make
due
a
some
lot of money.
in Los Angeles.
Yeah,
I think that's what turned. Is that what you meant?
Right along those lines, yeah.
Yeah.
He frames the question very nicely.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly.
It doesn't have effect on everybody. Like, we'll do what we have to do. I know in our situation with our quarterback, we're pretty confident we're going to get in a place that he really likes what the contract is. We'll be in a place that we can still build a competitive team, a championship team. Those both can be true. I just think, when I look back, when you were playing, Peyton's last contract was a big contract. And actually, I have a 3-ring binder, blue binder in my office that says Peyton Manning on the side. It's been sitting there since I took the Chargers GM job. But I have all my notes in there as far as what Chris Pulling and Bill Pulling did with that contract. It was a huge contract. And then how we're going to build the team having all of this money on the books. The only thing that's different then is the rookie wage scale was different then as it is now. It's a little easier now. More money goes to veterans, a little bit less to the rookies. So we'll have it easier. But there's no doubt you can get to a place where you can have a veteran quarterback who makes a lot of money, because they should, but still build a championship team around it. And that we're just going to build a team differently. But you can do that.
Mahomes deal, is that what it's going to be like, you think? Long term?
We'll see what the structure looks like, but we'll be able to get that done, and we're just going to build the team appropriately around that.
Are you in the middle of doing that already? Because we're coming up on it. What year is this for him?
Oh, yeah.
4?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you.
Yeah, from our end, after his rookie year, when we saw what we had, your mind's already moving to, okay, when will this take place? What it's going to look like? How are we going to build the team? So that kind of never.
Oh, so you already have dry erase board on what it could look, and then $230 million guaranteed comes. You're like,
Oh, son of a bitch.
Cross that off.
all right, I guess we got to do this. Wait, because it's you guys, it's Cincinnati,
Yep.
it's Baltimore that are the first ones affected from that deal. When that takes place, is there like a memo sent or a conversation that happens, or does that not affect your, because you said it affects everybody differently?
It affects everyone differently. I mean, we'll look, if a contract gets done before ours, we'll look at it and see what aspects we like and we don't like. The agents will look at it and see what they like, what they don't like. In the end, we'll get to the right spot. I'm not losing sleep over it. I was losing sleep over having, we had the Phillip Rivers era, but I knew this isn't going to last forever. So unless we have the next quarterback, there'll be somebody else in this seat you'll be talking to. So that's where you lose some sleep of who's this next guy? So we found the next guy. We found a franchise quarterback. Paying him is, I'm not losing sleep over that.
Herbert for this past season was awesome. He was awesome to watch. He was incredible to watch. I feel like he developed leadership, maybe? Is that from watching outside? Felt like he looked like a lot more of a leader. Is that an accurate depiction or no?
I think it's just natural growth and maturity. My last year with the Colts when Andrew Luck was there, I mean, he was a young player. And even though he was probably our best player, he wasn't a leader yet, I don't think.
It felt uncomfortable. I think you felt like uncomfortable because you're this young guy.
You're young, you walk in the locker room, you have teammates that are maybe older, married, and may have kids.
Vinatieri was in it. He watched Vinatieri kick it for the Amsterdam Admirals as a child. Vinatieri's in the locker room. Then he comes in as a rookie, and Vinny's like, hey, you're a leader now. That's a tough spot for the young
underrated aspects. But I think as Justin gets older and he matures a little bit, just naturally, he's a natural leader. He's not going to be the loudest voice in the room, but you don't have to lead to be the loudest voice in the room. But I did see that too. I saw that kind of come along, which is natural.
Tough, dude. What do you have? The skeleton underneath his lungs? Cartilage was underneath his ribs?
Yeah, rib cartilage,
Yeah, and just
That was like second week of the season or something.
Kansas City.
First
he's
Thursday
a dog,
football.
huh? He is a dog,
He is.
quietly.
Yeah.
I met his dad out at Oregon when we did game day. I got a chance to chat with his dad because he was kicking field goals in training camp. Do you see that? Did you tell him to stop?
This year?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
Yeah, he was bombing balls, like 45-yard field goals. I think he was just stroking through, no problem at all. I asked his dad. His dad told me we're a football family, and a massive part of football is kicking field goals. They used to play in their living room with uprights on the walls. They love football. He is a football.
So this makes sense because his rookie year, where we're going through COVID, and we're going through all these different emergency things that could happen. And, we don't have a backup kicker, backup punter, backup long snapper all the time. So at the time, we're like, all right, if we need a backup punter, what position player could do it? So we asked a couple guys, to kind of try out. And Justin said, I punted in high school. So I got a ball, and I, simulated the snap this way.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Hey, that's real deal.
Yeah,
right
that's real deal, spin and everything. So he shanks the first one. And I'm like, all right. He's like, no, give me another one. He gets another one. He hits it like 42 yards with like 4 or 5 hang time.
Turnover, or
And
is
then,
it
yep. And then did it again. We're like, all right, that's it. We know you can do it. So he's just a natural athlete.
loves foot? That's amazing to hear. The dude's for the brand. He's an absolute dog. But then when I chatted with his dad, it makes sense. Like, literally grew up like respecting football. Like, this is what football is. His dad, very firm, handsome. His dad is a handsome gentleman. I'm like, I love this guy even more. Gets to the playoffs. I'm happy he took that next step. I think we're all excited to see what the ceiling is for Herbert, which we're nowhere near. Connor has a question for you, Tom.
Yeah, Tom, obviously you're one of the best GMs in, the NFL, and because of that, you've put together a team that's unbelievable, and you got good guys and studs all over the place, which kind of sucks because now you got to figure out how to pay all these guys. Do you have GMs, especially this weekend, kind of coming up to you every day like, hey, Tom, how about, can I check in on a Keenan Allen? Or
To where?
Or to New England, sure. Yeah, the first thing I said to you, hey, stop being an asshole and trade, Keenan Allen to New England because that would be the right thing to do
happening.
personally.
Yeah.
But him, Khalil Mack, you got all these studs. Is Howie Roseman, calling you day and night, or there are a couple teams that really are just kind of peppering you, checking in every day?
Not too much, but this is the time, usually when we're in Indianapolis, where teams will look at other teams' rosters and kind of see where there may be some areas where you would talk. Yeah, so those discussions go on here. Not those specific ones you just mentioned,
Okay.
but those type of discussions, they definitely happen here because we're all in the same location. We all cross each other's paths every day, so that's those do go on.
Derek Carr flew out here, and this is
Yeah.
not about your team, obviously. You don't need this. He has meetings with like 4 different teams out here. Is that normal for Indianapolis? Is that kind of what combine experience is? Is that normal? or no?
Typically there's not a player available because they're usually available after March 15th.
Got
so
it.
the fact that he's actually available now is just different. So yeah, this is a little bit new, but pretty convenient for him.
A lot of planning before you get here about who you want to talk to, how you want to talk to, or as it kind of develops through the week here, you figure it out.
And there's a lot of planning. We'll talk, like our college scouts are kind of planning on what players we want to talk to with our formal interviews, with our informal interviews. In the end, we'll talk with everybody, but you only get so many formal interviews. We'll talk to agents about our own players. Those will go on here. But, there is a plan that goes into it because you only have so many. It's a tight time frame this week and a lot of work to get done.
Ty has a question for you, Tom.
Yeah, Tom, last year, kind of to Connor's point, we were talking about, like how good your team is on paper, and you said you hate that term because ultimately, like, it doesn't mean shit,
Yep.
what the team that plays out there is the team that matters. But how hard is it, especially after you make the playoffs, like how difficult is it, like being honest with yourself, saying, hey, these are really the areas we need to improve? Like, we're obviously very good, we made it to the playoffs, but how difficult is that conversation with yourself? Like, okay, this is really the area we need to improve on next year.
That's a great question because you really got to be honest about where you are with your football team, not just me, but everybody else involved. I think it's important for us, like when the season ends,
Take it easy.
we take a step back, kind of reevaluate where we are and then get together and just discuss and talk about things. Doing it in season is so hard because you're kind of, looking at each week individually, but sit back after the season, discuss it with the right people. And you just, from our standpoint, you're really never looking at the positives. You're always looking at what can you get fixed, what can you make improvements on. That's all we ever talk about. We never really sit around saying, well, we got Keenan Allen. He's a heck of a receiver. No, we're trying to, what else we need to get done. So you're always looking at the negatives more than the positives, unfortunately.
Oh, so you said third down defense. What's that? So we need
Slot
what's that,
corner?
nickel?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
no, What are we looking
Another
at
D
here? What's the
tackle?
deal, Tom?
Again, like it's a combination of players, development, coaching, the whole thing. It kind of all. If it was just like adding one player, well, that'd be easy.
Spent a lot of money last offseason, right? Made some plays.
Oh, yeah.
Khalil comes in. JC.
JC got
Yep.
JC Jackson
comes
yeah.
in. Who else? You guys spent some. My boss is getting paid.
Kyle Van
obviously.
Noy.
Van Noy came
Yep.
in. You guys
Kyle-
made a
Kyle-
lot of
Kyle did a
moves.
great
Gerald
job, yeah.
Everett.
Hey,
Yep.
he started. He told us. Well, I think somebody else told us, and then we had to ask him about. Oh, I think it was your commentator crew.
Yeah.
They just ratted you out
Yep.
immediately. Just
Okay.
immediately, I asked them. I was
DJ.
like, "What's going on with Kyle Van Noy?" They're like, "It feels like he's taking more of a leadership role. Like feels a little bit more comfortable." And then we asked him, and he was like, "Yeah, he got to a point, just like you were talking about with Herbert and Luck. He got a little bit more comfortable. I think being a little bit more of a leader in a brand new locker room. He was obviously. Are you going to be active in free agency? That's not something that was normally your MO. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, we cannot be as active this year as last year just based on, the space that we have. So we won't be as active. We'll still look to add where we can add, but won't be anything like last year. But if we can add, so we signed Kyle after the draft last year. And he was tremendous. I mean, we knew he was a great leader, but we really saw, his play in like November, December just went like this, and then his leadership, being around, more comfortable with the guys, he was tremendous. But we signed Bryce Callahan late in the process.
Great name.
Bryce had a great year for us, so that may be more the market we're in this year, but we'll kind of see how it plays out.
Does Eckler just have a touchdown incentive? Dude just scores. All he does is just score.
Yeah.
That might have been the most sure bet of the year.
Oh, yeah.
Eckler, anytime touchdown. And then 2 touchdowns was pretty much like every game. He's remarkable, that dude.
He really is, and he does it all. And he does all the things as far as pass protection that nobody really talks about because you can't really quantify it in fantasy points. But pass protection, obviously, catching out of the backfield, running the ball, he does everything for us. He's just a great player.
What do you think about the combine? Is it losing its luster or no? We had Rapport on. Rapport was talking about how some of the coaches aren't coming anymore. And I guess it makes sense for coaches not necessarily to be here, but I feel like personnel and staff probably always going to be at the combine or no?
I mean, the combine is as important now as it's ever been. It's just that I think we've found different ways to be more efficient working.
COVID.
Exactly. I mean, I've learned a lot of things from COVID. So, as far as when we come here, like how efficient can we be? Like, there's certain things that we need to be here for, but there are things like do we need 30 people watching the short shuttle? Like, just give me the time. I don't need to watch the short shuttle.
No, everybody has their different times, remember?
right.
But again, so there's a lot of things that we've always done. I think we can get better at. But the combine is important. But we've kind of, there's different ways to kind of handle this. I think we've all kind of changed a little. Not all of us, but I know we've even changed a little bit. So
How's the SoFi coming? We enjoy it? Great atmosphere.
It rains in there,
Yeah.
though.
Yeah,
Be
it rained,
careful.
bro.
That place
Did you
kind
hear
of
about
sucks.
that?
I think it blew in on the sides, didn't it?
Yeah.
Don't matter.
Well,
it
either
rained in
way.
there.
It was slick.
Bro,
Yeah.
we were there. We were standing there on the sideline. We have no idea how we got to do that. We were. Did you hear about this? We were calling
I
the
heard about it, yeah.
on the sideline, just standing, walking the perimeter of the
Sweet
field
stadium.
Right.
while the national championship is happening. SoFi is beautiful. Those field suites.
Yeah, quite a racket you're running, Tom.
It seems like quite a racket, Tom. I don't know if that's
You like staring
necessarily.
at asses, the players. It's
But
great.
that stadium is beautiful, top notch. And then once it started raining in there, we're like, this seems to be inefficient. But it was in Los Angeles. It was raining in a dome. It's not a dome,
Well,
I
it's not
guess.
a dome. Yeah, it's
Canopy.
It's a covered
Lightning.
stadium or a canopy. I don't know.
Yeah,
Indoor,
whatever
outdoor,
it is.
Indoor,
Exactly.
outdoor.
How do you feel about that, though? Because obviously that is a conversation that took place, 3 years ago, I think,
Yep.
with the Chargers, whenever you guys were in the MLS stadium, and then going into SoFi, and then now you got the face of the franchise. You make the playoffs. SoFi's beautiful. It feels like everything's really going in the Chargers' direction over there.
Yeah, that's the plan. The arrow's up. We just got to keep it moving forward. So, back-to-back winning seasons, made the playoffs this year, but we got to take it much farther. But yeah, we've got a quarterback in hand. We've got a nice group of players around him, both some veterans and some younger players, and it's a beautiful stadium. And really, the fan support this year, really coming from the soccer stadium and then moving to SoFi. In the first year, it was COVID, so it was empty. So then the second year, what is it really going to be like?
Sure.
And it was much better than I ever would have anticipated. Just didn't know. We're new in the market, new stadium. But the amount of Charger fans it's been tremendous.
Do you still think about having an entertaining brand of football? Because Staley comes in, and we talked to Staley. We were thankful that Staley came into the last office, last combine, and he almost made it a point, we play an entertaining style of football. I think you said the same
Yeah, I
thing.
totally believe that. Yeah.
Yeah?
Yep.
You think about that when you're scouting people, too?
I do. I mean, to me, playing 13-10 football is not exciting football. Obviously, if it can win, great. But we want to win. We want to entertain people on the way to winning. And plus, where we are in Los Angeles, that's what you have to do. So we want to throw the ball. We want to have an offense that gets the ball down the field. We want to have an exciting defense, and that's the style of play. And Brandon's an aggressive play caller, both on defense and in game management situations. We kind of want that identity.
That's awesome to
Hell
think
yeah.
about. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Tom.
we were talking about this year, the teams that seemed like regime turnover were teams that their record wasn't good, but they also didn't score points. Like teams where their record was not good, but they were scoring points and were more exciting. It seemed like those regimes got to stay versus the regimes that didn't score points.
Interesting.
And we're also because the fans are if you're scoring points, the fans I
Well,
guess will give you a little bit of a break. But if you're not scoring points,
Well,
If it's miserable to watch
Yeah.
and you stink, we happen to have a
Yeah,
suite that was 6 figures and then has an escalator to it all of a sudden out of nowhere. And it was tough to watch. That was a tough brand of football to watch. A lot of turnover. It's you heard fans get louder, though, because it's we're supporting you. You're not as good as we thought you were going to be. And it stinks. We're not, obviously, the Colts aren't the only situation. That's so I appreciate the fact that you have that like in mind, like also want to have an entertaining brand of football. That's a real thing in the business that is the NFL, I think.
Yeah, it is. You just can't give up. The wins and losses are number one because fans are entertained when you win. But there's definitely a style of play that we think we can play to entertain our fans.
What are you doing to combat with these quarterbacks? You have your quarterback. So do you even look into it? Do you do scouting for other teams because you know that another team's going to draft that quarterback? Like, are you trying to get as much intel as possible? And what do you think about the current draft class that's coming out? Where are we deep at in this class?
We look at it differently because I know when people talk about deep and weak, they're really looking at the first round, maybe the first and second round. We're kind of looking at the whole draft.
Yeah, I'm a GM. I got to actually.
I mean,
I don't have media. Okay, I don't have time to do that. But is this a good draft class? You think in your eyes?
I think so. I think I've seen a lot of players that we like. We have 7 picks right now. We got to find 7 players out of the group. I think we can do that. But the quarterback class.
You're happy you got Herbert, huh?
I'm glad we got Justin right now.
The Colts need a quarterback. So,
Yeah. So are the Raiders, though, in the division.
Yeah, that's good
To your
news.
point.
Hey,
Yeah.
your division. I mean,
Tough.
hey, that guy's good over there in Kansas City.
Yeah. Yep.
They're unbelievable. Dynasty, we're in the middle of right now.
Yeah, big time.
Chargers always playing well though.
So what is that? Is that always?
Yep.
I mean, that was Herbert's first game, right?
Yeah.
Herbert's first game came in
Knocked
against the
that
Chiefs.
guy out.
Yep.
Yeah, first drive, knocks him out, sets the tone. Is Chiefs a thought in your? Because remember, okay, what was dude's name for the Houston Texans? Charlie Casserly.
Yes.
Charles Casserly. He was supposed to take Reggie Bush. He does not take Reggie Bush. He takes Mario Williams. They ask him, why'd you take Mario Williams? I got to sack Peyton Manning. That's what I got to get to Peyton Manning in Indianapolis. Is that how you have to think whenever you're talking about building your team?
You can't help but not think about it. I mean, we know we have to beat the Raiders, got to beat the Broncos, got to beat the Chiefs. But you can't help but always be looking at how we can stop Mahomes. You can't. So it's part of your process. It's part of our process in the draft as we talk about different players. Fully knowing that, you need 10, 11, 12 wins to get in the playoffs, so you're going to have to beat some teams outside your division. But when you have, Andy Reid and Brett Veach and Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City, how are we going to get past those guys? So, yeah, those do come up.
What are your relationships like with other GMs? Pretty good? You guys all pretty kosher with each other?
I think so. Most of us kind of came up in this business, been in this, doing this a long time. So you get a chance to meet guys, before they're GMs. So you kind of know them before then. So, yeah, it's pretty cordial.
Oh, coming up in the business. Here we go. You know Jeff Saturday well. What do you think of that hiring, the interim? That was a big combo. Obviously, you're in your own world. You got your blinders on doing your thing. Wow. Whoa, that was a loud conversation in the world whenever Jeff Saturday got hired. Obviously, they win. He goes undefeated first weekend.
Yep, that's right.
Actually played the Colts in
Indy.
Yeah.
Got a chance to watch your team operate against Jeff Saturday's team. What did you think about that whole situation?
Well, I mean, I couldn't help but, I was surprised. I just hadn't seen that done before.
You know Jim, though.
Yeah, but I like outside the box thinking, and I do also think that, putting someone in that position, it was tough on Jeff. I mean, just walking into, a situation with, hadn't been there at training camp, didn't know the coaching staff, so it was a tough situation for him. But yeah, I was surprised as anybody. I did not see that one coming at all.
See, I love Jeff. You know Jeff we all know Jeff very well. And I was like just happy that a player got an opportunity to do that because of what we were talking about before we went on air about like AQ, 12 years in the NFL. He wants to be a coach. He's fixing printers and getting coffee for people at 4:30 a.m. Like, you're not going to get a lot of some of our best football minds after a great football career to sign up to coach just because you got to go back. This is just how it is. This is how it's always been done.
Yep.
So I like the fact that it was like, all right, we're getting a player who has a great mind, who has done a lot for the program. He's in the Ring of Honor. Putting him on a fast track almost to coaching, was hoping he had success. They did not. But they didn't have success beforehand. That's
No,
why
exactly.
They had flashes.
That's why he even got it. That's why he even got the gig. That whole thing is fascinating, though. The whole coaching, hiring process. You're happy you don't have to do it, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's the most difficult job you have, probably in all professional sports, is hiring a head coach. It's a hard process. If you look at the success rate of all, baseball, basketball, football, I mean, the success rate's not high when you're hiring a coach. So, the Colts go outside the box. I'm all for it. Maybe we need to really look at how we hire. We're lucky where we are right now, but it's tough. It's hard.
What did Staley do in the interview that made you think like this is the guy over maybe somebody else? Was there something that you can like pinpoint?
It shouldn't just be one. If it's just one thing, that wouldn't be good enough to hire somebody. But it was an overall approach, how he's going to handle the team, and then secondary to that, how he's going to handle the defense. And then how he's going to handle game situations. So a lot of it, it's really trying to take in as much as you can. So when you're hiring a head coach, or at least how I looked at it, you are going to look at The interview obviously is important, but what's his body of work? What's he done on the field? What's his either defense or offense? What have they done? How have they played? That's part of it. And then trying to vet that person with people that don't have agendas, which is hard, to try and find, really, very objective information about the players, the people that you're hiring. So those were the three things that went into it, and he just really, checked off all the boxes for me.
Hell yeah. Well, happy for you. Congratulations. Thank you so much for stopping by. A lot of negotiating this offseason or no?
Oh, yeah.
I got a lawsuit you can dive into.
Yeah, might need you.
If you want to
Take a peek.
just go down to
Do
Mississippi.
you have anything to say actually? About
Yeah,
the
do you
matter?
want to say anything
On the
about me
record?
being sued, for anything like that?
What are you being sued for?
Well, defamation, dude. It's a whole thing. I mean, we didn't break the news.
No.
We just talked
Reported
news.
on it.
Right.
And then now I'm going to get deposed. That's going to be must watch.
You may have a lot more lawsuits coming from all over the place.
That's
Whoa,
that's
that's
the point.
Yep.
That's why I'm being so like a lot of people are telling me like, why are you talking about? Because I don't have a lawyer. I'm gonna have to hire one, obviously, and I'm in the process. I've been interviewing lawyers. I've been doing the whole thing, and a lot of people are like, stop talking about it. You're only making it harder. It's like, no, I'm not gonna. This is not how this works. Like, I am not just gonna lay here and just take it, Tom. I think I've been like this probably forever, though. That's kind of how
I've got a guy at Ice Miller. You might be able to.
here in town.
Yeah.
Had a baby, Tom.
Right down
All
the
right.
street.
I appreciate the hell out of you. Have a great combine week. Good luck with everything. And thank you so much for making the trek up here to the Thunderdome. Boys, any last questions for Tom?
Yeah, just one. We have this conversation a lot as a GM because Staley's a defensive head coach. Do you get worried that if you guys have, the best year that you've ever had, your offensive coordinator is going to get plucked and then all of a sudden you're going to have to kind of reset a little?
It's like a scared mentality.
I mean, you're not even close.
Back up a little, Tom. Tom, back up a little.
It's just like a scared mentality to have that we want to make sure our offensive coordinator is not so good that he gets taken away. So
got a new
that's
coordinator,
not.
right?
We're hiring
Yeah.
the best person we
Kellen
can
Moore.
find.
Kellen Moore.
And,
Kellen. Why'd you hire
yeah.
Kellen? What you see in him? He had a lot of success with Dallas, obviously.
we got lucky he was available. Really, the numbers kind of speak for itself in Dallas. I think he'll fit really well, and he'll be a head coach someday. Hopefully, a couple of years down the line. But we're gonna hire the best person there, and fully knowing that they may move on.
Yeah.
Same offense? No, new offense.
It'll be a new offense. Yeah.
So that's not a thing you have to. Like, that's the whole conversation.
Yeah. And
It's like,
Herbert will just have to keep having to reset his offense and learn a new playbook and all that.
you don't live in your fears.
He's
though.
smart. He's smart.
You can handle it.
Hey, we're going to pay him a lot of money. I think he can handle it.
Ladies and gentlemen, General Manager of the Los Angeles Chargers, Tom Telesco. We're going to take a break. We'll be back in 5 minutes.